Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate Weitzer, holding it down on the East Coast for us, where we are going to be talking Knicks and Raptors here in just a moment. Some best bets, some things we're eyeing, some pretty fun bets in this one that we're actually eyeing as well. So we'll give you some of those. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got going on for tonight. Nate, let's jump into that Monday night slate.
Yeah, we got the Knicks -7 right now at home against the Raptors. Intriguing game. Hard to really feel confident about anything on that spread, and the total at 208.5 is also right in the sweet spot for odds makers, because it's very hard to pick an under there, and the numbers don't necessarily indicate over. But we'll come back to that game. We're just looking at the other games right now. Blazers on a back-to-back are +5 at Philly. The Bulls are +1.5 at Boston. We have a separate episode about that and our picks for that one. The Wizards are +5.5 at the Hawks. Rematch there. Magic +9 at the Wolves. The Nuggets +2 at Grizzlies. That's must-see TV on a Monday night. And then the Thunder are +11 at the Clips. So this Knicks game, I think, Josh, it's prime tease season right now. I don't think we like Knicks -7 as hot as they've been. I don't think we love the Raptors to necessarily cover, as shorthanded as they are offensively. So I would look at teasing this line either way, +11 or -3, along with the other game we talked about, along with the Bulls, who are +1.5 for some reason at struggling Boston, even though Chicago's been among the best teams in the East to start. If I can get the Bulls +5.5 with the Knicks -3 here, I feel great about that. The Knicks have been also one of the best teams in the East, and they're the only team to have beaten those Bulls. They've really been on fire at home since the midpoint last season, 16-6 against the spread. Their last 22 games when home favorites. They're not usually this big of favorites, though, right? I mean, it's usually they're getting a little bit of disrespect last year, but now I think the public's starting to come around on them. They have one of the best offensive ratings in the league. Interesting to note that it's been much better on the road than at home, and they're also playing at the second slowest pace in the league at home, going up against a Toronto team that has the #1 defensive rating over just 2 road games thus far. So that's why you see such a low total. Both teams play at a snail's pace. The team totals are 102.5 for Toronto, 109.5 for the Knicks. I think if you believe Toronto can keep this game close, it's because they're going to hold the Knicks closer to 100 points, and you could take the under on that team total. But I think this is a time to get a little creative with those winning margin bets. You got Knicks to win by 1 to 10 points, single digits at +175, or the Knicks specifically to win by 1 to 5 points at +330. What we expect to be a pretty hard-fought game. Those Raptors, regardless of talent level, they give Eastern Conference teams a tough run almost always, and they've had plenty of close games with these Knicks in recent years.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it's just something from my childhood where I felt like the Raptors were always just hanging around the Knicks right when they became a team in the mid-90s. And it's just stuck with me forever, where guys like Doug Christie and Vince Carter were handling the Knicks for some reason, even though they were a better team. And it still feels like that it's going to be that close. That was what stood out to me right when I saw this was a touchdown is way too much for the Knicks to be favored right now against a Raptors team that is underrated, in my opinion, because they don't have Pascal right now. And everyone just knows that they've been, shedding stars for the last 3 or 4 seasons, unable to keep, all of their sort of aging veterans and replace them fully with guys that you consider on par with, like a Marcus Gasol and including and then obviously Kawhi, Kyle Lowry, and DD. They're all gone. But you're left with a new core at this point that I think is going to need to get a little little bit more respect. Nick Nurse is going to continue to coach defense the way he does. I would feel comfortable taking 7 points against the Knicks. I'm tempted to take that money line just because if you do think this is going to be close, and I think it's going to be less than 7, when you're getting about plus 250 in some places to take that money line, plus 270 even, that's something to consider because I do think this will be closer than the blowouts that the Knicks have handed to a couple teams this year. And, in terms of the 2 games that they have not covered, right, those were spreads of 12 and 8 points there. So, against the Pellies, they failed to cover because of the fact that they're so bad on defense in the fourth quarter. And that's what I'm banking on in this game is even if the Knicks see a double-digit lead in the third quarter, for instance, I would still feel very uncomfortable that they're going to win and cover that 7 points by the end of the fourth when they're giving up 32 points a game in the fourth right now, a couple points by far the worst in the league with that number. And then, last game was exactly what happened against the Pellies. They were winning by, they had that spread nice and covered in the third, gave up 34 points to the Pelicans in the fourth quarter. And there just seems to be a little bit of a taking their foot off the gas that scares me, when it comes to them covering 7 points. But, other than taking those 7 points, which I think I'm going to do no matter what, I do like that Knicks win by 1 to 10 points. I can't see them maintaining a double-digit lead, even if they have that, like I said, in the third quarter. And the total here, there's no way I'm taking the under. If anything, like you said, I would, if you want to tease the Knicks or the Raptors even up a little bit to double digits and take that under at like 212.5, feel a little bit better about that, but I could still see them scoring over that. The Knicks have been a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde this year when it comes to those totals. Just when you think, we've got one of the top 5 offenses in the league pulling threes at an insane rate, then they come out and put up 104 against a team like the Magic, or they have another close one against the Bulls, that kind of thing. So, the total is a little bit less inviting to me here than it is to say this game's going to be close. 7 is too much, and the Knicks to win by 1 to 10 to get plus money feels pretty nice as well.
Yeah. So, we are only 6 games into the season at this point. And to say, the Knicks are experiencing this offensive resurgency might be getting a little ahead of our skis, right? You look at who they've played, the Magic twice, the Celtics, who we talked about in that other episode. The one really tough defensive matchup is the Bulls, and they grinded out a 104-103 win. So I could see the under here for sure. I could feel a little bit more confident teasing it up 4 points. But I think the Raptors are going to give them some issues. I think just the way Nick Nurse knows the weaknesses of this team. I think he will be able to limit them in different ways. So I would look at the under Knicks team total 109.5 and expect that that's the reason Toronto hangs around in this game. Just good defensive scheme. And just an ability to grind it out on the road with 4 of their last 5 road games going under, as I mentioned, best defensive rating this year in a small sample size. So, I'm just looking at a lack of points, really, which really has been the trend across the NBA this year. And I think especially with these teams, when they go up against each other, we shouldn't see too many high-scoring quarters. I think that fourth quarter output the Knicks have given up to this point probably doesn't follow suit in this particular matchup because I don't think the Raptors are an explosive offense, but I think they will lock down defensively, and I think maybe even look at live betting if it starts a little hot and expect it to slow down the stretch.
Yep, and even in live betting, the other angle I would take, like I said, if you see the Knicks up double digits in the third quarter, don't think by any means that means they're winning by that margin. If I can get, Raptors plus 10 somewhere in the middle of the third or something like that, that's something else that I would consider as well. And, if you do think it's going to be a defensive struggle, maybe a bunch of rebounds are available. Julius Randle is someone who, continues to have matchup problems everywhere because of his versatility. And if you take him double-double and a Knicks win, you get plus 144 there, or you could just take him to get 10 boards and get about plus 160 on your money, both on FanDuel there. So just a bunch of stuff in here, as we mentioned at the top, that we like. This is a fun one to bet because of a lack of assurance on certain of these sort of like stable bets, right, in terms of the line or the straight total. There's some fun ways to get creative with this one that we're enjoying. So make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. We will be back with you guys. Again, we've got a couple more videos today, as we mentioned, the Celtics and the Bulls, as well as our daily player props video that we'll have for you. So make sure you check those out. And until we see you again, happy betting.